Hello, and welcome to our first tips and tricks training webinar for SendMyAd for 2015. We're going to cover some topics today that I hope you'll find useful. We are going to talk about issues. That's something that there's actually quite a few features for managing issues, particularly in bulk. More actions. Managing more than one issue at a time, or being able to handle different things in a more efficient way than just going into the publications view. So we're going to talk about some of those maybe misunderstood features and some things you may not have tried before. We're also going to briefly talk about sending material request reminders. This is an important feature that came from customer feedback, but it's easy to miss. And so we'll just talk about that briefly. And then we'll talk about another area that can be somewhat confusing, and because it's similar to another feature, and that's sending an ad to other publications. It's very similar to pickups in a lot of ways. And so we'll talk about what that is, how to do it, why you might use that instead of pickup, or vice versa. Just a couple housekeeping items here. There's a zoom button in the upper left of your screen, which will expand to cover full screen if you wish. Questions, if you could hold those towards the end, or you can submit them in the client, and I'll answer them at the end of our session. All right, well, let's get right into it. Okay, I'm going to log in as a publisher user. Most of the things we're talking about today are publisher features. Okay, so what I've got here is just the standard view for. Usually it's kind of the default that you come into, either to dashboard or your print ads. But I'm going to switch to the issues view down here. Now, that's one that people often miss because they typically are going into publications or don't even really look at this stuff unless you're setting things up. But there is this sub item here called issues. And this gives a really nice overview of all of your issues. Normally, you'd have to go into the publications view right here and select your publication and then go to the issues tab. Considerably more clicks and waiting than just going to that bulk view. However, it is the same data that you're looking at here. And so for my publication, HR Demos, I have 2 issues that are active, and we do color code those for you. We also have an option to show all issues. There are some issues that are so old we hide those and try and declutter this interface for you somewhat. So if you're missing something that you're expecting, an older issue, click that little checkbox. When we select an issue, this gives you all the details that you can manage. Some of these are simply metadata for you to track. Others are significant in how SendMyAd operates. So things like the name and code, typically you might have something already that you're using for that, and so you just supply a code value, for instance. Those are important because they also can be used when delivering your files and in various things where we allow you to supply a variable, like the email templates or notifications. So a good useful code is helpful for that. And we have run into issues where people will put special characters or symbols into the issue name. We try and filter those out wherever possible, but if you can avoid special characters, you'd be better off probably when we try to deliver files to you. Okay, issue type, you can simply specify if it's a regular or special issue. It's not really significant for us. That's for you, really. Same with volume and issue number. If it helps you to find things, that's great. You can use it. Issue visible, you can just simply turn this off so that you don't see it in list. You see, if I just turn that off, it disappeared out of the table over there. That might be handy if you're working on setting up an issue, but you don't want people to see it yet. That's a good one. Virtual publisher only. This particular demo publisher that I have also has virtual publisher, so I see this option. You may not. But if you do also have virtual publisher, you can specify that an issue is only available in the virtual publisher interface. That may be very handy if you don't want advertisers directly choosing it and trying to upload things. Disable print ad reception. This will keep the issue listed, but you'll see it grays it out. It has the same effect as essentially expiring the issue by adjusting the dates down here, which we'll talk about in a second. Allow tablet ads. If you have the tablet portal, you can specify some issues. You may only take print ads and you don't want tablet ads, so you can do that. Okay, the issue dates down here. Most of these are pretty standard things that but there is sometimes some confusion over the materials due date and the issue run date. So some things key off of, in fact, a lot of things key off of the issue run date. And that really is intended to be your drop dead date. This is when you absolutely, positively cannot take any more ads. This is when you are closing the issue and you really don't want people sending you ads. The ad materials due date is the soft deadline that you tell your advertisers, which they promptly ignore and then pester you with emails. Can we send you an ad? Can we send you an ad? But that's the date that publicly you say, this is our cutoff date, get us your ads by this date. And so typically that's a few days before the actual hard issue run date. So those are the two differences. And where you see that come into play is there's an option here under your publication details for disable ad reception X number of days before issue run date. If you leave it at the default 0, it will just it will accept ads up until the run date. However, if you want to set that, if you typically set your materials due date, let's say 5 days before the run date, you can set that number to 5, and that kind of enforces the soft deadline. It really will not allow advertisers to upload past that time. So that's why that issue run date really is kind of the date. So typically what you might have is an ad materials due date that's 7 days prior to your run date, and then maybe you disable 3 or 4 days before the run date. So use that as you wish, but that's how that works. I see more deadlines here than you do, probably, if you're not a virtual publisher customer. So there are some of these that are specific to virtual publishers. So images and some of these other things really are more geared towards the virtual publisher side of things. So if you don't see all that I see here, don't worry about that. Okay, let's get back to the bulk actions and this menu. What's great about this is this gives you an overview of all your issues, and you can sort this by the various columns that you see up here. So you can see, based on deadlines, your run dates, ascending and descending. Okay, you can do all of that. You can sort by your publication. and however you want to slice and dice that information. You also can customize that. So if you see right here, there's an all fields selector. If I go to manage views, I can create a custom view here. And by doing that, I can select certain ones to hide. So for instance, if I really don't care about if it's VP only, I don't care about the on sale date or images, or maybe ship date and cover date. But for me, I really want to have the run date listed pretty high up in the column order. I can do that. And if I typically use the, turn off the receive ads value, I can do that and just kind of shift that up. So let's go here and shift now to my limited view that I've created. And you can see that it moved the columns that I wanted. It omitted the ones that I didn't want. Okay, so I can make that a more useful view for myself. And I can also download that. So it's a way to give you a very quick, very customizable report. So let me open that for you. Okay, it's a comma-separated text file, which just opens in Excel. And here is the exact same data listed in a table for me. So I can export that, I can save it, do whatever I want to do outside of SendMyAd. But it's a very quick way to do a report and just show the data that you want. Okay, so let me switch back to my all fields view. And let's take a look at some of the useful things that you can do here. So I'm going to focus on just one of my publications. So I have here a publication, and you can see that all of the issues that I have here, I've got 11 issues. It gives me the count down here at the bottom. They've all expired. They've got that red colored key. All my run dates are in the past. Okay, so this particular publication is not active. I can't really I can't send any files to it. Well, let's fix that. Let's create some issues. Now you can do this in a couple different ways. There's a very basic add issue, and that is just like if you had gone into the publications view. And this would look very similar to the view that I showed you a little while ago. You just provide your dates and the name, code optionally, some other information that's optional, and a few virtual publisher specific things for this particular publisher. But all of that should seem very familiar to you. So we're going to skip over that and let's go to something more interesting. Let's go to import issues. Now, what this does is it gives you the ability to import a comma-separated text file that will automatically create for you all of the issues that you've listed. Now, you have to follow a certain format, and so we give you a sample file that you can download, and we tell you what fields we're expecting. Okay, so let me open one of those up and show you what that looks like. I've got a very basic one here. It's just a single issue, and it's just a single publication. But let's take a look at what this is. Across the top, it's got the column headings, and that's fine. That helps you sort this out when you're creating the file. This information can come from an external system. It might be exported from somewhere, or you could just manually go into Excel and create this file. But basically, you need to give it either a name or a code for your publication, the issue name and code, and then the dates. Okay, you don't have to supply everything, so they might have to be columns in the file, but you don't have to supply the values for the ship date and the on sale date. Description is optional. They should be there if possible in the file, but the dates that we're really looking for are the due date and the run date. Okay, so very basic. Now, what's really good about this is you could have 100 different entries here for one publication, and you could have 20 issues created for another publication. You can mix and match those, so it doesn't have to be delegated to just one publication. This will bring everything in based on the values in these columns. Okay, so very, very powerful, especially if it's the beginning of the year and you need to get a year's worth of issues in, and you have that data somewhere already. So let's take a look now at how that works. Let's browse for my file. And there's my issue sample. Okay, it's going to import that. And then it gives you this interface where we now map the available columns to what it found in the file. So the choice that you have is really, how do you match the publication? So you can match that by the exact name or the code. So one of those two has to be available in the system. Let's go with publication code, but either of those will work in my file. And then just simply say, okay, these are the how we call the columns in our system, and these are the column headings that it found in your CSV file. Okay, and all of those do look fine. We try and match those up intelligently, and then we're just going to process the file. And we'll refresh our view there, and there you go. There's our new issue, and if I click that, it'll take us to the publications details view, and it will show our newly created issue. Okay, and it's all the values that I had in the system. And as a bonus, you'll see that because I added an active issue, the publication is now set to receive ads. Okay. Another way that you can quickly add issues is one called Create Auto Issues. Again, you select your publication, and I'll pick this one that we're working with. What this does is it lets you create issues. It's very similar to the auto import in that it'll let you create more than one. But what it lets you do is create them using some very common parameters. So we can say that we're going to create an issues based on a quarterly rotation. We want to name them based on one of those dates. So maybe the due date, number of issues, and then we select when the material's due date should start. So let's pick some time in the future. Let's pick, let's say March 30th. And then you can also offset the dates from that. So we can say that we want our run date to be 7 days after that, the ship date 14, and maybe the on sale 17. Just randomly picking numbers, but obviously you'd have something that matters to you. Create issues, and you can see it very, very quickly created those for us, and you can see that the name of the issue corresponds to the run date. Now you can obviously these are regular issues, and you can go in now and customize those. So those may not be the names that you want to use, but you can quickly go through and rename those. So it's kind of a way to create regular issues in a very quick fashion with only a minimum of going back and editing those. It's easier because you don't have to set up an Excel file and import it. There may be times where you want to use one method over another, but I thought it was a good thing to show because it's not something that's used a lot, and I think it's a really neat feature that really can be very helpful. Okay, now there's a few things that we can do here as a group. So we can say that we have these issues that are pretty far out in the future, and we really don't want people sending ads to us right now. So we can disable the ad reception on those, and you can see that it grays those out. And sometimes you have to refresh the view. You can see that it says it cannot receive ads now. So that's something where before you would have to go into the publication view, select each issue one at a time, and just click that box on and off. So showing you that this disable print ad reception. Okay, so it's really a time saver if you're, it's that time where you're going to start setting up your issues for the next quarter, the next 6 months, whatever. You can do a lot of the kind of housekeeping things that just take a lot of time. So another one that you can do is remove an issue. So if you made a mistake in your auto import, you can remove it right there. Okay, so very easy to do. And hopefully you'll find those things are useful for you. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for issues. So let's take a quick look at the next item I wanted to show you, which is sending materials request reminders. Now, this happens a lot of times. You'll create materials requests. When you create them, you have the option of selecting the advertiser who's going to be sending you the materials, and that triggers an email. It goes to them, and then they promptly ignore it because the date's so far in the future. And so, you start to see that my deadline's coming up. The materials due date is coming next week. I haven't got my materials yet. So what you can do is, by combination of using filters here, go to materials requested, and then selecting the items that you're looking for. Okay, these guys, I really need my materials. And all you have to do is go to the actions menu and request materials. And that's it. It automatically will send an email to whoever is assigned. And by that, I mean in your materials reservation, when you go down to the advertiser contact. So that person has just been emailed for that ad, and then perhaps it's another user that's assigned to this one. So it's a very handy feature. It came about based on a user request. But it's one of those things. It's not a showy feature. It's kind of hidden there a little bit, but a very, very useful one. So keep that one in mind. And I just want to point out one other thing. There's ad reservation and materials requested. So if you are looking at the all ads view, it will show that icon, that sort of blank page icon for an ad. But if you look at the status, you'll see materials requested for those and ad reserved. The difference between those is the ad reserved simply means you've created this insertion order, but you have not assigned it to anyone yet. Okay, so if you had accidentally selected that one, it wouldn't trigger an email. So it's good, I think, because those icons are the same and it's easy to mistake the two. I like to go to the materials requested filter and just be sure that I'm really worried about those. And that's a good prompt for you also to maybe filter by ad reservation and see why haven't you assigned an advertiser to those. You may need to go in and assign it in order to notify someone in the first place to send the ad. Okay, so the last topic we're going to talk about today is sending to other publications. It's kind of a wordy name for a feature, but you'll see it right here. Send to other pubs. Now, this often gets confused with pickups, and to be honest, we get confused about it too sometimes. We have kind of multiple ways of doing the same sort of thing. People think of this action sometimes in different ways, different terminology, but there are some subtle differences here. Pickups are intended for ads that have been completed. You've got, it's been all the way through the approval process, whether you're using publisher approvals or not, but the ad has been finalized and it's done. When that happens, you'll see a pickup ad icon in this space over here. And that lets you pick up the ad and make a copy of it in another publication. Okay, so that's what we call pickups. The send to other pubs is very similar, but it has some advantages that you may not be aware of. Let's click the button right here. And you can see that it lets me choose a publication. So I'm going to pick this one, where it's actually assigned to this HR Demos publication. So let's switch to North Country Times. And what's interesting here is it tries to look for a matching ad specification. Do you have the same ad size in the target publication? In this case, I do not. And so I need to select that. So let's pick a different spec. And it also gives me the option to select a different color profile, because this is another publication it may have different color profiles set up. So let's make it a grayscale ad, and I can select an issue. Now, what's not often known is, and it's not entirely obvious, is that this choose a publication actually lets you select more than one publication. So you can see it creates a whole other block in this interface with the exact same questions. And you can see that it lets me pick a different one. And there's no color profile selector because I only have one active color profile for that particular pub. And I can then select my issues. Okay, so however many times you want that to be sent into different publications, you just select from the menu there. If it finds an ad specification that is the exact same trim size, it will prompt you if you want to use that or not. Okay, so if I go to HR Demos, that's the same publication. So of course we've got a matching spec. Okay, and if you want to use that, which typically you do, then you use it, and it's one less thing for you to fill out. Well, there's no point in me making another copy of this ad in the same publication, so I'm going to remove that block. Okay, so if you make a mistake, you don't want it to go through, you can just hit remove. Okay, so what it does is because we have the option of sending this to multiple ads, it just it gives you a little message what it's doing, and it actually went by pretty quick there, but it tells you that it's copying this ad to your other publications, and you should check your ad list. So I'm going to refresh my print ads list, and you'll see it. You'll see 2 new entries there. And what's really interesting about this is that the option to send to other pubs is available even though this ad is not yet finished. it hasn't gone all the way through its approval cycle. Okay, so that's one option to keep in mind. That may help you out in some cases where maybe you can't wait for the individual ad, the source ad, to be go through all the approvals. And that's okay, because it's going into another publication, and that publication may have a whole other set of publisher approvals. And it really is a separate copy. I've copied this ad physically into 2 different locations. You can see that in the first block where I'd selected the color profile to make it a grayscale ad, we've done the color conversion. I can approve it. It has no effect on the other 2 copies of this ad. It has its own separate, pre-flight report based on that publication's pre-flight settings. Okay, and you can see, even though it's not done, I can send this one to the other publications. Okay, so it's a way for you to provide a flexible option for doing what we tend to think of as pickups. For example, I know of one publisher that for the pickup option, they don't allow their users to change the ad size. So when they pick up an ad, it has to match the ad size in the target publication as the source. However, by using the send to other pubs, they can allow that to be changed when it needs to be. Okay, so it's a way to sort of get around a limitation or a rule, a restriction that they put in place for pickups. It's not really intended to be that way, but that's how it behaves, and that's how they think of it. It gives you more flexibility. It allows you to very quickly copy this ad into a variety of different publications. Now, the one thing that gets confusing with this is you may say, well, why would should I use that feature for adding it to different issues in the same publication? And the answer there is generally not. And instead, what you would do is go to the left panel job ticket and go to edit issues. And here's where you can actually add different issues to the same advertisement. So what that does is it saves you the processing and saves the extra copy. It just now runs this ad in multiple issues. That is a feature that you may not even want. You may always want to have a separate copy every time the ad is used. And so there is an option under your company profile to force only one issue per ad. So if you don't see that option, or you may see a select menu rather than that multiple issue interface. If that's on, then pick up or send to other pubs is what you would have to use. So we've got a lot of ways to attack the same concept of I have an ad, I want to use it in different places, and that might be different issues, it might be different publications. We give you all the tools, and then you decide what best fits your workflow. Okay, that wraps it up for our demo and the topics that I have. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to take those now. Okay, there's one good question, and that is, even though it's a similar feature of sending other pubs, or sending to other pubs, does it count as a pickup? And I think the best way to show you that is to go into one of these copies. And if you scroll down in the General tab, we track that stuff. So you can see here that if the ad is a pickup, it will say yes, and it'll have a button, and it'll take you to the source ad. But we call it a copy. And so if we just click yes, view ad, that's going to take us back to what I was calling the source ad. So we do track those separately. They're called a copy and not a pickup. So they are kind of a separate thing. Okay, well, that looks like it for questions. Thank you for joining us today. If you have topics that you'd like to see in the near future, please email your sales rep, email us at support. Happy to discuss anything in upcoming webinars that would be of interest for you. I'll just give you a little teaser. We're hoping to do a update this month, and the main focus of that update is a totally revamped interface. So we've really gone through and refreshed the GUI, how you will interact with the system, and the menus and all that is the same, but the appearance is just a lot more streamlined, cleaned up, more modern, more standard. We think you'll really like it. So I suspect that if we manage to get that system updated this month, as we hope, then next month's topic we'll probably spend a lot of time just going through and kind of touring the new interface and just seeing how that looks. So anyway, but happy to address any new topics that you'd like. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you next time.